Alright, welcome back. Before we even start anything, let's go to add-ons and get one of these two, or both at the same time, whatever you like. If you have your own, that's all good, but since this is free, might as well install these. Once you install them, go to your project, configure project, and press add-ons, and then they're going to be here. You just drag them here, press OK, it will import it into your project. And then you press open editor. I already have it open right here. And what happened is I decided to make a 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer landscape just to show you. As you can see there, it's the textures are still tiling, but that's okay. They're only tiling because we're looking from far away. But if we look from here, it's not too bad. And if I add actual foliage, it won't look that repetitive. So anyways, let's go back here. And now let's talk about optimization with foliage. So we can easily add foliage, but there are optimization problems in adding too many heavy details a lot and just ruining everything. So first things first, you will have your two scans in vegetation. I'm gonna choose the tree that I worked with a while ago, and I'm just gonna click and drag it right here. Here's my tree. Reset its rotation, and then just press this, and now I have a little tree right here. So imagine if you had to make every single tree all over the place. Impossible. It's a waste of time. So what we do is we right click, press create, and then we create a clutter. And I think the easier one we can create is the mesh clutter. So we go back to the tree. If I remember, it's a shoria. I don't even know how you say it, but that one. We go to the FBX itself, we click on it, and then we click on the mesh, and then we just throw it in. Now here's how we work with these things. First things first, we drag it into the landscape terrain thing. Now it's perfectly intersecting with the landscape terrain just by using that. Orientation, we don't use it on trees because what orientation does is it goes along normal. So this is bending this way. The tree will also move that way. So if we just press orientation, you can see the tree moving in those ways. So we don't need that. We're going to remove the orientation for our sakes. This is a cluster. A clutter. So how do we do this? First things first, we're going to reset its position. Alright, now it's going to be at the front, but here's where we do things. So in terms of size, remember when I said it was 4096 by 4096? So just click on your landscape and the layer map that you have, and it will tell you what the size is. It's 4096 by 4096, so let's click on the cluster, go to the size X, 4096 by 4096, and now it populated the whole world. And the problem is it's way too detailed. So we drop the density, and then we drop the steps. The steps could be anywhere from like 10 to 20. I'm gonna make it 12 because at the moment 12 looks like a good amount. We're gonna add some angle. Angle meaning if the landscape's too steep, it's not gonna put a tree over there. All right, and then once that's done, let's lower that density a bit more. Around here, looks good. Looks good. Alright, and now we have a world with the trees just a little bit slanted, but that's okay. They look okay. This is your personal preference, whether you want it here or there. And then collisions, so if you can even attack, like get hit by it if you're playing a game or if you're anything. Now we have this object that's all over the place. Let's actually color it. Let me remove that orientation, it looks annoying to me. So let's press edit on the original that we have. We go inside it, and then we have this whole LOD system. Just right click and copy it. We go to the clutter itself, and we have the same surfaces. We just have to paste the parameters, and now all of them are acting exactly as how we have it. We just delete the original one, And now we have it populating all over the map. So if I were to go all over the map, we still have it populating, but we have a problem. If we get to a certain point, we can't even see it. And that's perfect because this is a mesh object, meaning these are actual full meshes that are being rendered. Imagine if you had to render all of them as a mesh. It's going to destroy your computer or your PS4 or whatever. How do you fix this, or how do you combat it where you can see all over the place? Well, a very simple way to do that would be you click on the mesh clutter itself, and I'm on data. I have a file called _imposter. It's just a temporary one for this tree. So you click on the clutter that you have, you press tools, and you press Imposters Creator. Now, what an imposter is, it's basically an image of that tree being placed on that area. And what it does is it saves you a lot of time, and it saves you a lot of rendering capacity, so your computer can be doing other stuff while it's showing you the whole thing. Now, let's say you pressed randomize right here. You got this randomized number. It's gonna come handy later on. So first, let's just do what I was saying. Tools, Imposters Creator. We need these specific settings. We need the albedo on without the SSAO, or with. In our case, let's try it with SSAO. We need the normals for vegetation. We need the shadings. We do need the baked ambient occlusion. So let's add that. Translucency for vegetation, depth and opacity. Now, aspect ratio is what we have to change. In our case, 1:1 only works if the tree or whatever you're trying to make an imposter for has the length and the width almost the same. In our case, the length is way taller than the width. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the 4:1, length 4:1 as an aspect ratio. You could do 2:1, but I think 4:1 gives the best. So we just press create, and it's going to tell you which folder. I'm going to drag it to the hashtag imposter and call it Shoria _imp, and just press OK. Alright, so now that it's done, you can see that it gave us a world full of trees. Beautiful. So what's the difference between this and, let's say, the trees itself? So let's just go it up. I'm gonna move these out here. Oh yeah, I can't really do that because I take that back. Let's go back here, and it's landed back in here, and let's just remove it out as a parent. And now let's just remove these and then remove these. As you can see, the original, the real mesh itself is right here. Give me 1 second. Alright, so the real mesh itself is right here, and it has all the necessary mesh settings to basically render it at full detail. Now, when we add the imposters, what the imposters does is you can see that they all almost look the same, but from far away, it doesn't make a difference. Does it matter if it looks the same? No, it looks like it's a forest full of trees. So it solves the problem of you having a densely packed forest without ruining anything. Now, remember when I said about that seed number? As you can see, they both have the same seed number. So now they both are being randomized at the same place. Now there's one thing we didn't do, and that is masking. So like over here, the trees are on the water area. That doesn't make sense. So what we do is we give it a mask of terrain. In my case, I have a mask which is called not water map. Basically anything that's not water will be flooded with these trees. So what I'll do is I'll just hit the not water map for this guy, and then I'll hit the not, where did you go? Okay, there you go, not water map for this guy, and now they're exactly in the same position. You got a cute little tree right here which makes no sense. Let me just remove it. So this has to do with the scaling over here. Let's make all of them 1x1 scaling. And over here, when we go to the clutter, it's doing a grass clutter. So we just go minimum height right here, which is 1, 2. So now it doesn't have a height difference. Normally you do that for grass, but since this is a tree section, it doesn't. So this type of, let's go to the next object. It's gotta be here. All right, so we have a little LOD setting problem here where it just pops in. So what we do is we click on, I believe this is LOD 2. Yes, so let's just click on all of these LODs and give it a fade, probably 5. Now it pops up a little slower. Wait. Let me just mute these. So it's, well, of course I'm going too fast. But if I were to go, alright, it's still popping up too much, but these are the LOD settings that we have to do. So let me do here 10. So it takes, god damn it, it's not working. But anyways, you gotta play around with these settings to see the changes of the mesh as it gets more detailed when you get there. Now, this is only too visible because we have only one tree. Let's say if we had a lot of foliage around here, that wouldn't even be that much noticeable. But anyways, so we got the tree thing going, but let's say you didn't like this tree, or like you didn't like these two trees being over there. You want to remove them. Now, can you individually mix them? No, you can't. That's one of the problems with having a clutter. Clutters are perfectly performance reliant, but their problem is they're clutter. Basically, it's meant to be just like thrown there without being effective. And for trees, it's not a bad idea if you're not going to edit them, but let's say you didn't like these two trees. What the heavens are you going to do? There's a way to fix that, but at the moment, let's choose another option. Let's say I wanted to create a tree again, but this time I wanted to edit this specific area. So let's go back here. Let me just create a primitive, a sphere primitive. No, actually a box primitive would work much better. A box primitive. Let's make the X and Y like 4x4 and just click it right here. Remove its rotation. And let's choose an area where we want it to. I'm just gonna. Alright, let's say this area over here, I don't want these two specific trees. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this and then clear this, and it doesn't have anything. And then just remove their rendering settings. And now here's what we can do. When you go over here, and also when you go on here, there's something called a cutout intersection. They both have it. We can choose an intersection mask, let's say 20 in our case, and then choose the same 20 here in our case, and then we go to the cuboid. And remember, this is a clutter, right? These are clutters. So now we choose 20 and we say clutter interaction. So what that is supposed to do is alright, so what that does is in that area, all clutters will be disappointed because we deleted them. So let's say we had these with our cutout intersections that are 20. The cuboid itself having, it doesn't even need these, but the grass interaction is because of this being an object grass, the imposter itself, and this one is a clutter. So if the cuboid has a clutter interaction and grass interaction, and the intersection mask connects with the cutout interaction, that area will be removed from well, play. As you can see, the bigger you make it, the more it gets cut off, and you can make an area over here that you do something specific. Now let's say you didn't want to do that. All right, let me just delete. Actually, just keep it. And let's say we didn't want that. What we wanted was this little area over here. We wanted a specific tree in a specific alignment. So what we do is we go into cluster paint. Cluster is specific. It's kind of like clutter where it just randomly does throw stuff around, but the difference is you can handpick each and specific one. So let's just press create a new cluster. We'll go to vegetation and we'll choose the oil palm. FBX, go inside the FBX, and it has a mesh. We press OK on the mesh, and now we have a mesh, right? So let's just increase that, click on that itself, and let me just press, and there we go. We have a full area. And the best part is we put it in the same area that that box is. Might as well do that, right? So now we have this area, and the problem is it's too detailed. So let me just go to cluster paint mode. Let's press the erase button, and I'm just gonna erase it. All right, now let's just make the button bigger, go back to paint, but put the density to like probably like 25. There you go. Just even then it's too much. Probably, wow, 1 happens to be the best. Okay, so let's say this area has a specific thing, and now we close it. We do the same thing as before. We go into the vegetation. This was a palm oil, I remember. Palm, pine, palm, oil palm, there you go. Palm oil node, just click on it, and here we have it. We just go into it, edit it, just copy the parameters, and we go to the cluster, right click, paste parameters sequentially, and now they're all there. So now we have a little specific area that has these. Now let's say you wanted to put them in a specific sequence. Let me just delete the old one. In this sequence, so what you do is you go over here, you click on the clutter itself, you press edit, and now you have the ability to edit each one differently. So let's say you wanted to move this one here, and whatever. You know what I mean. Just move it all how you like it. Each one, just press, oh, come on, right here, and you're happy with the way it looks. Okay, so what you do is you go back to the cluster itself and you press apply, and now they all are arranged in that same area that you put it in. All right, sweet. Now, do you want to add imposters to these? Well, if you're making it in a small area like this, you don't need to. But if you had to like populate the whole place, then yeah, you got to do the imposter thing again. As you can see, these imposters look a little, there you go. So now you're just walking. Let me just lower these. Now you're just walking, and then the trees just like, there you go. Slowly just like turning themselves a little bit more realistic as you look closer to it. Now here's the thing. You'll notice one thing here, and that is the imposter itself looks like it's overlapping inside the mesh. So what you do is, wherever this thing ends, so let's go back here, the LOD2s, they all have the same, let's see, it says 40, right? So 40. So what we do with the clusters, I mean with the imposters, is its minimum visibility is 40. So now when they die, let me just remove it out from here. So now we have the original mesh, and then if we remove the mesh, let's get closer to the imposters, they die out by then. So, and then the mesh replaces it, thus making it a nice little mix. Now, of course, I'm not doing correctly exactly what the numbers are. I didn't, just trying to show you the differences. So that's two ways, and let me just delete both of them. Delete and delete. So for making grass, just right click, create grass, and make it a child of the landscape. Same thing as usual, populate the whole place, positions, reset it, and rotations, reset it. Steps have to be 17. If it's not 17, it's gonna ruin it, but you need the 17. And then after that, I just made the height consistent, 1, and I increased the density. The view distance was like 20, and the imposters was like minimum 20, maximum 100, and that was it. For making the texture itself, grass is what's it called, a billboard, so it's a picture. You just put the albedo in there and it'll work. And then just did the same thing with imposters. The problem with imposters was one of my masks was just not affecting properly, so I'd removed the masking just to show you guys how the imposter works. And you'll notice my frames would go low, but that wouldn't matter because in the real engine, or like in the release, the build itself, it's not gonna affect it. It only affects in the editor because we have a few other stuff working around it. But anyways, you'll see me show you the one I made, and we'll compare it and stuff. So yeah, that's the basics. So anyways, play with the settings however you like. I think this making it one subdivision is more than enough. Reduce probably to like and then make its maximum visibility 20 and maximum is about 100, maybe 200. So now this one starts at here. So now we have a grass that is more detailed here, and then an outer grass that's more detailed outside. Now the reason why these are very heavy is because of its subdivisions. If we just make it 1, and this one's already 1, it already increases our FPS. Now, one of the most important thing is FPSs does not matter in the game engine. It matters more when you actually press play. So, in my case, let me just add all of these. So these are what I added. I made a full, same thing as usual, the 000, added a clutter, and I had 3 different clutter bases, just randomized it, and I had a mask on each one of them, meaning it doesn't hit the waters. And then for the debris, I had a specific mask where it's close to the water, but it's not in the water, so it's like shorelines, and that's what it did. And that's like these what's it called, broken tree debris over here, which I got from the scans. Then I added that same tree with the imposters, which you can see here as I go down and as I go in, it gets detailed. It's the same tree, I just happen to do it that way. And then I added the grass, which also drops the FPS by about 1,000. But how do you make grass detailed? So over here, remember how we made the grass base? What we do is I added a noise, ambient, occlusion, and translucent map. So when we go back into vegetation and we go back into the grass itself, I can't even spell. All right, here's the grass. I believe it's the same. No, it's not. This isn't the grass that I took. I took the grass clutter. So this is the one. We go into texture, and then we're in the object grass. Let me just remove the imposters. We go into the grass right here. What I did was, we go into states. I clicked on noise, ambient, occlusion, translucency, and then we went into the textures, and we have these options. And then we just added the noise and grass color noise 1, and then we added the shade and the translucency. Then we go into the parameters, and I just added a few things. So I made it a little glossier, a little fabric. The intensity over high, I made it 10, translucency 1, no slope scales, and then just changed a few things. The noise gives it that color range as you look through it, but let's just go back to, I don't know, around here, just make it darker. And then for the base color, it's originally up here. I just dropped it down to whatever number that is. And then we have a full world. Now I'll show you what the imposters do. In my case, the imposter does the exact same thing, same numbers, but I made its max visibility and fade 100. I could definitely make it into infinity. That doesn't change anything for my FPS right now, because let's go back to one of my character that is right here. It's just a camera. If I press play, it's gonna record everything exactly the same way as it is. So now that I look into the game as it's loading, it has a asynchronous load time. So normally you have a loading screen while this whole thing is being loaded. And once it's fully loaded, it puts you into the scene itself. So in my case, we don't do that. Let's just go in, and as you can see, there's no lag spike, there's no frame drops, there's no nothing. The world has its basic look, its design, its mood, its feeling, and it's not bad. I even have the sun just a little bit tilted onto the side. As we go here, the ground is a little bit rough. We could edit those, but again, play and edit, check it out. This looks perfectly fine, and now you have a world, and it does its main basic settings. So as you can see, we come back here, and we can notice that the imposters pop in and out too fast, right? So we're gonna have to add a little bit of LOD setting changes over there, but the main game is already set, and it's not doing a bad job at all. If I just mute everything, our FPS is back to whatever it was. And if we look, even though it is so repetitive, adding those alone changes the look of the game, or the look of the terrain itself. It looks a little bit more realistic. Now, of course, if you had to look at it from here, it looks a little weird, but that's because I didn't make it that high detail in the first place. But as you get in closer, you have a very optimized for in-game / in-scene view. But for the editor itself, of course, you need it to perform much faster than it should be. So anyways, we got the basics down and we got all the main things down. This is the core of optimization. Now there is more in terms of details. So if I went to Unigine developer and search into it, it's called authoring tips. I've been here a few times. In this forum alone, or in this documentation alone, it tells you how to make your specific tree / vegetation and foliage, and how to make it extremely efficient and optimized for your projects. So once you're done doing that, you can load it into a game and it will look much more realistic than mine. I mean, I just did this in 1 hour to show you guys the usages and basically the potential of what this engine has. So anyways, if you like it, do a bit more, add a few more stuff. I just added 1 shrub, 2 different rocks, and 1 type of tree. You could definitely go beyond and above all this stuff. But that's it for world creation. There's more details that I can add, especially if it's something like the light being procedural, all that good stuff. You can do a lot. It all depends on you. But at the moment, let's go into coding. So the next episode will definitely be coding. And until then, see you guys.